Tim Montgomerie, what about David Cameron's performance? It was a big day. We'd already had the theatre yesterday. A lot of pressure on him, cutting short his trip to South Africa. How did he do?
I think he did very well, and I say that for someone who thinks he's even a little bit behind the curve for the last couple of weeks. I think he was very authoritative today, and I think he's where the British people want their Prime Minister to be. He's taken incredibly tough action to deal with problems that all occurred during the Labour years, and I think the British people now, they've seen the Prime Minister take action, and they want the government to get focused on the issues that they are concerned about, like the euro, like immigration, like crime. And I think enough has been done now for him to have earned the right to move on.
Has he done enough, though, to persuade his own backbenchers? Because they will probably have sat there and seen Ed Miliband, the Labour leader, having had a pretty good time of it through the phone hacking scandal, and, to use your words, perhaps viewing their own Prime Minister as being slightly behind the curve. Has he convinced them?
Well, they were certainly roaring sort of their support today. They were very enthusiastic. And I think maybe we're beginning to see the signs of a little bit of overreach from Ed Miliband. I readily concede he's had a good couple of weeks, but there was an element today in which I think he was seeing conspiracy theories almost behind every corner. He's done well. He now needs to address what is his fundamental weakness as a Labour leader, is that people don't trust him on the economy. And when we're going into a summer when the economy is going to be absolutely dominant, he needs to change gear and change focus.
Do you think then that he did, Kevin, hit the wrong note today, Ed Miliband, that actually, having had these few weeks where he has put pressure on David Cameron, today was a day perhaps to come together and say we all have to look at relationships with the press, relationships with the police, rather than continuing on this line of why did you hire Andy Coulson?
Yeah, today was very party political on both sides, and it was more real pantomime. I think there was a lot more heat than light, and I thought David Cameron did do well. It was very feisty, although I'm sure some of his answers on what he did or didn't know about Andy Coulson, also B-Sky-B, probably wouldn't stand up to sustained questioning if he came and sat here.
Let's take the B-Sky-B question. He was asked several times, but above all by the beast of Bolsover, who finally actually got a straightforward question. In all the meetings with News International, has he ever raised the issue of B-Sky-B? Now, his first answer to that was, as Rebecca Brooks said yesterday, his second was, I've never had an inappropriate discussion. I'm afraid most people will think, well, he did then. Not inappropriate, but he did discuss B-Sky-B at some stage.
He did, and he's not being straight, he's not being clear, presumably because it's embarrassing.
Otherwise, you would say no, or yes.
And was it around a dinner table? Was it on a point-to-point?
It's the meetings question, isn't it? Yeah. You see, the meetings, he's been very transparent, he says, about publishing the meetings, official meetings between members of News International and the government, but not about those informal social interactions.
Well, that's right. It's always been the case in Downing Street. You go downstairs, it's recorded, you go upstairs for a private meeting, it never was. But he's had so much social contact, as Gordon Brown and Tony Blair did, let's not forget.
Well, and Gordon Brown particularly, I mean, and much has been made of that, even by Rupert Murdoch himself yesterday, about how cosy they were, the Browns, with the Murdochs.
Oh, a very good line from David Cameron. Look, I've never seen Rebecca Brooks in her pyjamas after Sarah Brown had that slumber party at
By the way,
Checkers.
I haven't either. Have you?
No.
Well, I'm glad to hear
full disclosure here.
Perhaps we should ask everybody around the table.
No one would admit it now, anyway.
No, exactly.
I've never seen her dressed inappropriately. Correct answer.
And from that, I mean, in terms of inappropriate relationships, I mean, where it comes to Labour's relationship with the Murdochs, not just Gordon Brown but Tony Blair, do you think they themselves are putting themselves up in the firing line if they continue in that vein?
Yeah, they are in part. You can't ignore the past, the history, and Labour was too close. Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell ran their media operation through News International. Gordon Brown was terrified, tried to cosy up, unsuccessfully as it turned out.
In the end, successful for a while.
Oh, that's absolutely true. But in the end, he got his fingers burned. But of course, Ed Miliband's got quite clean hands on this.
Well, I think some of us would dispute that, Kevin.
Yes, why do you dispute that?
Well,
you point to Tom Baldwin, or
absolutely. Andy Coulson was there at the Prime Minister's side for a while, but he's been gone now for a few months. Still there today at Ed Miliband's side is this guy called Tom Baldwin, who used to work at the Times, used to work at News
International. Of wrongdoing
very direct. Well, that was exactly, of course, the same position for Andy Coulson for a while.
Tom Baldwin was never at the heart.
Very specific allegations have been made by Lord Ashcroft and others about him blagging into bank accounts. So
he hasn't quite got the The killer facts have yet to come out on that.
Yet to come out.
Well, where are they?
And maybe they may yet come out.
Well, you're close to Lord Ashcroft. When are we going to get them?
But for Andrew,
someone... He hasn't spoken to me since that 5 o'clock interview on election night.
Surprise me!
That's right.
But for someone who is trying to ride, his high horse, as Ed Miliband is doing, and saying that he is kind of whiter than white, and actually to have this guy with some significant question marks hanging over his head is dangerous. As well, of course, as what Rupert Murdoch revealed to us yesterday, the scale of the meetings that have been taking place between Labour leaders of the past and Labour and Murdoch Empire
the political benefits for Ed Miliband and the Labour Party? I mean, first of all, there are polls that said actually how engaged are is the public generally in this when you have got these other issues. But also, the Labour Party polling hasn't improved that much. Ed Miliband's standing has improved, and he'll be pleased about that, won't he?
Well, he should be. He was a very low base.
Exactly.
He's actually made himself safe within the Labour Party. That's the first. That's the first thing he's done, because Murdoch's the big bogeyman for most people in the Labour Party. But no, he hasn't broken through yet with the country as a whole. But it's a slow burner. Now, it may never explode fully. It may never detonate. There may not be the dynamite fact to basically nail David Cameron to Andy Coulson knowing things he shouldn't have known and shouldn't have taken him on, because that may not exist. But if it does, then I think Ed Miliband will look very different publicly.
Well, in terms of the standing then of David Cameron, I mean, over the last few days, we had a bit of a debate about this earlier in the programme, in terms of where have the senior Tories been batting for David Cameron. Now, I was told, actually, by people within the Conservative Party, look, we didn't know what the line was. Difficult to come out and bat if we don't actually know what we're supposed to be saying. What do you say to that?
Well, I think David Cameron will be OK after this. He's had a good performance today, and the overall approval ratings haven't changed. But I think there are lessons to be learned. Traditionally, you would have a Tory party chairman out there in the media every day batting for the Prime Minister. Well, I rang about Central Office about this the other day. I wondered whether she was unwell. I wondered whether she was abroad, and apparently she's preparing for party conference, which is 3 months away.
She's not spoken to me since the Tory party conference.
Well, I remember that.
A lot of enemies here.
A car crash interview. Maybe I shouldn't want the party chairman in the media, but Cameron desperately needs that kind of figure out there doing the stuff that he needs to be slightly above. He needs a Rottweiler who particularly will go for some of the hypocrisies and contradictions in Labour's position.
Thank you very much, both of you.